Welcome to the all new 365 Longhorns podcast. I'm Tanner Carlson. That is Jake Jimerson. This is presented to you by 365 Sports. It is December 6th on Saturday, and we're going to talk a little basketball news, a little basketball update. Women's basketball killing it, absolutely killing it. And a little bit of football recruiting news. This is probably going to be a shorter episode. Really, a lot of these episodes from here on out probably won't be as long. That's not to say Jake and I won't go off the rails from time to time and talk a little longer than expected or go off on some tangent or whatever that looks like. But the plan is to kind of keep these a little bit shorter. We're also moving to 3 episodes a week. And so, yeah, we appreciate 365 helping us out here, taking over. We're still going to be essentially the same show that you've always gotten, just a little less of it. And that's okay. All right, Jake, talk a little bit about the basketball teams. Men's basketball, they come away with a loss against Virginia. It wasn't relatively close. 88-69 was the final. Dylan Swain was your leading scorer with 15 points. He also was your leading rebounder with 10. And he was really the only one that showed up and played against Virginia. Now, Texas did have a ranked win over NC State, 102-97, with Jordan Pope scoring 28 points, and Kendall Weaver, Dylan Swain also leading in rebounds and assists as well. The thing is that Voikatis is not leading this team in rebounds on a regular basis. I think that might be a bit of a problem. Owning the board should be something that Texas does, and Voikatis should probably be the one that does that more times than not. And so maybe a little bit more aggressiveness from your 7-footer down on the low block. But I don't know if it's a matter of this team still trying to figure things out. But, 3 losses in non-conference. You've only got 5 non-conference games left, and you got Southern at number 5 UConn. Basically chalk that up as a loss. Lemoyne, and then Maryland Eastern Shore. So 4 non-conference games remaining. Sorry, not 5. But yeah, probably going to win 3 out of the next 4, and then you get into conference play. But Texas probably can't waste too much more time trying to figure it out before they get into conference play, because you got Mississippi State could be a win to start off SEC play. Then you go number 13 Tennessee on the road at number 12 Alabama, and then home against number 17 Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and also now to me that UConn game becomes a little more important with this showing against Virginia. They don't. I'm not saying they need to win it. They need to look competitive in the game. They were competitive against Duke. Really, like the Arizona State game was a very funky game where the officials called like 60 fouls. And there was a billion free throws.
It was a ebb and flow type of game. I don't think it felt like any other. I don't think any team had a lead over 10 points at any point in that game.
Texas might have, but either way, the officials made that game so funky because it was just. I mean, I think there was like 70 free throws shot in that game or something like that.
And it was in Hawaii. That's also whole.
So that game didn't really concern me, and then they won out from there in Maui, including their first ranked win against NC State. This game is like, okay, that you can't play that bad again this season.
Yeah,
because you will lose to anyone on your schedule playing that bad. Because it was a stinker, and Sean Miller said it after. It was just like, we had a great crowd. The crowd showed up, and we were down by 27 in the first half. He's like, if you don't think there's a problem, then you're not doing your job or something along those lines. And just talking about how like they need to wake up, and that type of performance can never happen. But yeah, that to me makes it to where this UConn game, they got to be competitive in it and look competent, because this was a disappointing. This is the first kind of not crossroads moment. I'm not going to say that this early on, but this is the first, to me, adversity in the Sean Miller era of where it's like, okay, how are you going to come out after that when you play your next good competition?
Yeah.
I think one thing that's obvious is the thing that's going to limit this team is their lack of a true point guard. They don't have a true distributor who can consistently bring the ball up and be that kind of true point guard. And we knew that was probably going to be the biggest issue with this team. And that's not something that's going to be able to get fixed this year. That's something that'll have to be fixed going into next year. But that's going to be something that limits this team. But I still think they're very capable of being a easily in the tournament team. And that should be the goal for this team and then go from there. But they can't have performances like this Virginia game. That was pretty disappointing. The defense hasn't been great this year. Their defensive rotations have been horrible at times. But the offense has been really fun. It was very bad in this game. And then you combine that bad defense, and that's how you get. In Virginia, actually, you have to reprogram your brain. They've been a very good offensive team now this year under a new coach. So when you play bad defensively against good offensive teams, and SEC has plenty of those, you're going to give up a bunch of points. And if you don't shoot well, you're going to get blown out. So hopefully this is a good learning lesson.
You got to control the boards, and it's hard to control the boards when the team you're playing against is getting open looks and just making shots. And so you don't really get a chance to control the boards. But yeah, Texas has there's some holes. There's some things that they need to improve on. And I know that in the world of basketball, you are very capable of a 1-year turnaround from 1 year to the next. And I know that the leash on Sean Miller and him getting this program ready is probably a little shorter than, say, a football program or even a baseball program with Schlossnagel. But again, trying to give him some leeway. He's had a history of success everywhere he's gone. He's always been a tournament coach. I believe he'll get Texas to that point. Again, it's not like they're some slouch. They're 7-1 this year. And it's not like they're just now their one loss was to Butler, which again, another basketball school. But yeah,
haven't been for a handful of years though.
Yeah. And I think Sean Miller will get this team on the right path. Is it going to be this year? Is it going to be a great year this year? I don't know. I haven't seen anything this year so far to suggest that this team is poised to run the SEC or to make to be one of the top teams in the SEC.
I would like them to be towards the upper end of the middle pack. That would be an improvement from last year. I think they have the talent that's capable of that. They're going to have to improve. I mean, you are going from running no offensive system to, a completely different style of basketball from what was going on during the Rodney Terry era. I'm going to give Sean Miller time. I'm never going to be a guy who is out on a head coach his first year coaching. I gave Rodney Terry grace in his interim year. Obviously, that year was really good, but in the next year, I gave him grace. I'll give Sean Miller, he has this full year of grace, and then next year will be when he starts to get judged more. And also, I just don't think Texas basketball isn't Texas football. It never has been. It never will be. It's not going to be held to that standard. It's not going to be held to the standard that baseball is. It's the third fiddle when it comes to the three major men's sports.
Yep.
But that said, we can look across and look at women's basketball team, and there's a lot of really positive things to talk about, I think.
A ton of positive stuff. Just now came off of a win against number 11 UNC. Obviously had the number 1, number 2 back-to-back wins over UCLA and South Carolina. Texas currently sitting at number 2 in the country in the women's basketball world. But man, I was looking at the roster, Jake, and I was just kind of looking at the youth of this team and where the roster is. It's actually kind of crazy that Texas is just reloading. I mean, against number 11 UNC, Jordan Lee, a sophomore, was the leading scorer on a team with Madison Booker and Oldacre and all these other weapons that can score. Rory Harmon even. I know Harmon's a veteran player. Oldacre's a veteran player. But Madison Booker, it feels like she's a senior or fifth-year senior. She's a junior. She still has one more year of eligibility to come back and play for this Texas team. So it's just crazy to kind of see this team and playing as well as they're playing. But yeah, played very well against UNC, kind of dominated that game, was never really all that close. I know UNC was up after the first period But after that second quarter, I mean, Texas won 23-10 in the second quarter. And again, it was, just kind of controlled very well by Texas for the remainder of that game.
Yeah, they continue to look like a team that is poised to be take that next step this year. Now, whether that means winning a national title or not, I'm not sure. UConn is obviously sitting there at number 1 right now. But this is a team who's now just dominated multiple top opponents. They were able to. South Carolina was a little bit closer down the stretch, but they took down South Carolina on a neutral court, something they couldn't do last year, and didn't even come close to last year. And obviously dominated UCLA and dominated a nearly top 10 team in North Carolina. This is a team that has had high expectations coming into the year. They've now set higher expectations.
Yeah.
I think you and I would both agree the expectation at this point is to go to a national title game.
Yeah.
And play what would probably be UConn in that game.
And I could care less what your path to get there is. Everyone's like, well, yeah, you have to get you're either going to have to get through UCLA, you're either going to have to get through South Carolina, or you're going to have to get through UConn. That's going to be your path. Like,
it's pretty simple to me. They went to the Final Four last year, and this team looks much better than last year's team.
Now, I will ask you this. They're going about 7-8 deep in these games. Does the I don't want to say lack of depth, but the lack of using a lot of depth, does this concern you long term, long run, long season?
Here's why it doesn't. Women's basketball is just different than men's basketball in the sense of upsets do not really happen all that often from like just way lesser teams. There's going to be plenty of games, and there already has been plenty of games this year where it's just not going to be a close game, and you can play other people and rest people.
Yeah.
Now, if someone gets hurt, yeah, obviously the math of expectations could change. But when it comes to, running around 8 deep for these more important games, I don't think that's all that uncommon in basketball. Would I prefer them to be 10 deep and have a true backup for every position? Sure. But you're going to have plenty of games that you're going to have in hand.
Seeing two bench players was a little like, whoa, on the UNC game. You look at the UNC box score and you go down the list, you're like, oh, you had 2 bench players play, and one of the bench players actually played starter minutes. Oldacre, she comes off the bench, but she plays 30 minutes a game. And then you've got Rory Harmon, and I think it was Jordan Lee, who didn't even come off the court at all. They played every minute of that game. Madison Booker played every minute but 2 minutes. But yeah, I mean, and Justice Carlson, though, by the way, sophomore coming off the bench, one of the bench players, 18 minutes, 11 points. Just a firecracker off the bench. Just a lot of work in a short amount of time.
Yeah, against UCLA and South Carolina is the same thing. You only had a couple players coming off the bench. But in some of these other games, that hasn't been much of an issue. Because you're up by a bunch. Against Incarnate Word, you had 6 players come off the bench.
Yeah.
So that math will change for a lot of these games. I just think it shows we're going to see a tighter bench whenever they're playing top teams. They have a stretch in their SEC schedule where they're going to play a lot of top teams, and that's when players are going to that's where you maybe worry about it. They have a stretch where they play number 9 Oklahoma, 5 LSU, 17 Kentucky, 15 Vanderbilt, 19 Tennessee, all back to back to back to back to back. That like stretches like that may be concern, but that also it doesn't mean that we're not going to see some other bench players emerge as players who can get more playing time in some of these games that earn that ability. So it's just not something I'm going to worry about right now whenever they're beating top teams. Is it something to be aware of? Sure. But is it something to be worried about? Not yet.
I'll just say this as well. I don't think the wear and tear on the body is as bad in the women's game as it is in the men's game in terms of the impact on the knees, the impact on the ankles, things like that of cutting, jumping, all those sorts of things. I don't think it's not as much of a wear and tear on the body than in the women's game. So they should be able to hold up a little bit more when it comes to playing, bigger minutes. So, all right, Jake. Hey, let's talk a little underdog. We'll hear from our sponsors, and then whenever we come back, we have some football recruiting news we want to get to as well. Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code HORNS to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code HORNS. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 and up. 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games. 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Jake had a big win on Thursday night, not on the football field, but on the entry range. I used a 40% profit boost, which Underdog provides you pretty regularly if you want to take advantage of those. It turned a 6.5 favorable entry into an 8.72, and it boosted my entry from on a $10 entry, paid out at $87.20. And that was CeeDee Lamb higher than 75.5, David Montgomery higher than 36.5, and Jake Ferguson higher than 38.5 receiving yards. They all surpassed that with relative ease. So in that game, good payout there for me. And then I've also got, as the night of this recording tonight, Friday night, I've got the higher on the UNT Tulane American Conference Championship game at 67.5. Got the higher on that one just because that's fun. And then I've got the other conference championship games on Saturday as well, entered in the games that we talked about in Thursday's episode.
Yeah. I like OSU to Ohio State to cover this weekend. I also like Texas Tech to cover this weekend. I will be having those on an entry kind of combined with your North Texas and Tulane over. I like that one as well. Obviously, Troy and James Madison's game will be complete. Actually, North Texas and Tulane's game will be complete when this comes out because those are both Friday.
Yeah.
But yeah, excited for conference championship weekend. Very interested to see how this Duke Virginia game ends out. Because if Duke wins, you're going to have 2 G5 teams in, is ultimately what's going to happen, which would be wild to have North Texas and James Madison in the playoffs, all because the ACC let a 7-5 team play for their conference championship game.
They should have overrode it and just been like, look, you guys aren't getting in. You're not getting. We're going to put Miami in the conference championship game, not you guys. They should have just said,
"You're
y'all
7-5. That's all you got to do. Just go into their meeting.
You're 7-5. They're 10-2. Same conference record.
You didn't have to say they're 10-2. You just go, you're 7-5. You're not playing for a conference championship.
End of meeting. All right, Jake. Some recruiting news. Texas gets a 4-star safety out of Manville, teammate to the 2027 number 1 wide receiver in the country, Easton Royal. Greedy James is committed to the Texas Longhorns. Is there a better name? And between Easton Royal and Greedy James, first of all, Manville, I don't know why you're naming your kiddos the most badass football names of all time, but you must be doing something right because you've got 2 of them committed to the University of Texas. But Texas might be on the all names team here pretty soon.
Yeah. Unfortunately, USC does have him beat out. I think it's USC who got Booby Feaster.
That's a great, awesome name.
That one is number 1.
Yeah. Has to be.
You can't beat Booby Feaster.
Yeah.
I mean,
Greedy James is a good safety name. He's
Oh, it's
greedy.
great.
A
Elite.
greedy ball hawk.
Booby Feaster is unfair.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got to nerf that.
Yeah, I mean that's not playing a straight up game.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's
The
cheating.
game the game devs need to just do something about that. They need to go in and change that because that's just uncalled for. Yeah.
Yeah, or it needs to be in my college football game so I can recruit Booby Feaster.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I will win the Heisman with him in college football
I will do whatever it
2027.
takes. I'll do whatever it takes to get him a Heisman. But yeah, so but there's some recruiting news. Texas hot on the trail. 2027 class already coming into to formation along with the 2026 class. A couple flips. We talked about that, I think, in Tuesday's episode. So if you want to go back to Tuesday's episode, we did give a little bit of a recruiting update. We just kind of wanted to mention the Greedy James safety from Manville, teammate of the number one wide receiver who is also committed for the 2027 class, Easton Royal, which again, that's also another badass name, Easton Royal. That sounds like a baseball name. I could see Easton. I always think of Easton as the baseball bats more than anything else, but yeah.
Yeah, also some other big news that came in. SEC going from 85 to 105 scholarship players. This is something Sarkisian had been asking to be done. I think pretty much every SEC coach had been asking to be done because you've seen other conferences, other of the power conferences doing this. And so it is a pretty big deal when it comes to being aggressive in the transfer portal, taking more chances in high school recruiting with guys that you think could be a diamond in the rough and that have a longer development curve. So a pretty big deal, really. I mean, it's 20 more scholarships you can give out to fill in roster spots and, give more, 3 stars and stuff like that, chances that you think you can develop. And obviously something I know Steve Sarkisian wanted. And it'll help Texas be more aggressive in the portal this year, knowing that is now officially a thing. Steve Sarkisian's already come out in his press conference earlier this week, basically saying, we need offensive line in the portal, possibly a linebacker, a running back, some secondary. I've never heard him say that many names when it comes to the portal. I'm sure they might even look at a wide receiver too. So look for Texas to be I think this will be one of, if not the most aggressive years in the portal for Texas. Because I think everyone knows what the goal is for 2026. I've said it for years that 2026 would be the year. I am standing by that. The Texas Longhorns will win the national championship in the 2026 football season. And I'm going to stand by that. And I think that starts with that portal class and then with this number one recruiting class becoming sophomores. A lot of these Texas, one of the younger teams in the country this year. All those guys getting another year of experience. And I think the whole Texas program knows what the expectation is in 2026. 2026 needs to be the year they get over the hump.
If this is considered a down year where we're on the outside looking into the college football playoffs and people making a very valid case of getting into the playoffs, it's not going to happen, but making the case that Texas can do it with 3 wins over top 10 teams. And this is considered a down year under Steve Sarkisian's tenure and not making the playoffs. When expectations are met, that's whenever you need to watch out because the expectations are also they're actually not probably. Here's my thing, Jay. Do you think expectations are going to be lower going into next season than they were going into this last season? Or you think they're going to be higher?
I think from a national perspective, they'll be top 5 to start the season for sure.
Yeah.
Arch has.
I don't think they'll be number 1.
No, and I really hope they're not number 1. If they're number 1, that'll really concern me for their chances. I actually would love
it should be Ohio State. Yeah, it should be Ohio State. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously the only thing that concerns you is their schedule next year is rough, but at the same time, you don't have Georgia or Bama next year.
You also don't know that because we thought a lot of the rough schedules this year ended up
ended up being much easier.
Yeah. A&M's was a lot easier.
Texas ended up having A&M's was a fucking joke, but Texas ended up having one of the harder schedules in the SEC. So yeah, I guess you never know about the schedules. Like you said, a lot can change.
There's a lot of on Texas schedule, we went over it on Tuesday or Thursday. We went over it about the amount of new coaches that are going to be on Texas's schedule, whether that be Lane Kiffin at LSU, whether it be the fill-in for Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, and then I think there's a couple other teams on there who are going to have some coaching changes. I can't remember who it was, but we had like 5 teams that are going to have new head coaches just within the conference. So it's gonna be a wild offseason. If you thought the transfer portal and the coaching carousel was crazy last year, just buckle up. Buckle up, try not to complain, and enjoy the ride because it's going to get real crazy. The moment these playoffs are over, Jake, shit's going to hit the fan.
Yeah, without a doubt. And so it's going to be an interesting offseason. It's going to be an exciting offseason. And for this being a down year in the Sark era, and especially in the last few years, I can live with it. Beating all your rivals, having a lot of your younger players really grow up, and really having just one loss that cost you the playoffs that was early in the season that you grew and continued to learn and play better from. I feel pretty confident going into next year. And so it's going to be fun to watch this team grow. And I think you and I both have a high level of excitement for Texas going into next year.
As long as Sark is the head coach, I'm going to have excitement. Yeah, I'm going to have excitement.
And that's true. But it's easier to have more excitement after finishing the season the way they did. And beating undefeated A&M, denying them the SEC championship for a second year in a row.
Yeah.
Denying them their first undefeated
season. Have you seen the cope from A&M fans on the
great.
interwebs?
It's great because this was their opportunity because they are more than likely never going to get that easy of an SEC schedule again.
And the cope from them, all I see is little brother this, little brother. They keep calling Texas little brother. I'm like, that's why I know it's bothered you all this time. It's bothered you.
Yeah, and you're just like, we're in the playoffs, and it's like, okay, well, what were you doing the last 2 years?
Yeah, well, what have you been doing forever since World War II? What have you been doing? Like watching Texas have all the success.
It's just funny. I mean, you look at their SEC schedule, you line it up with the standings, and you go below the 500. And I get it. Texas lost to Florida. It was a bad loss. Texas was not a good football team at that point. Guess what? They're a really young team, and guess what? They got better as the year went on because they have a really good coach. A&M is the exact same team they were week 2, if not worse.
Yep. All right, Jake, let's go ahead and wrap this episode up. Again, please like, share, and subscribe. Join us Tuesdays, Thursdays, and we're thinking Saturdays. We might switch up the schedule a little bit. We're going to figure it out with all the basketball seasons. There's going to be games we're going to want to do immediate reactions to, whether that be Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, Saturday nights, depending on when they're playing, men's, women's, all those types of things. So just kind of be flexible with our schedule. But we're going to guarantee you 3 episodes every week. And we appreciate it. We got a new brand. We got a new company that is kind of running the show for us. And so, again, the show doesn't change very much. It's just going to be a little bit of a different schedule, different look about it as well. So that's Jake Jimerson. I'm Tanner Carlson. As always, ladies and gentlemen, hook 'em.